This is a dark moment for America. I'm filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk.
President Donald Trump there among those expressing outrage over Charlie Kirk's murder. The 31-year-old co-founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA was speaking at an event in Utah when he was shot and killed by a nearby assassin. So here's what we know so far. The shooting happened at Utah Valley University. Officials there say the 31-year-old was shot by a single bullet from a nearby rooftop about 200 yards away. Nearly 3,000 students, school staff members, and supporters ran for cover. It was a targeted attack. Utah Valley University police say 2 persons of interest were detained and released. Kirk leaves behind a wife and 2 young children, ages 1 and 3. So as the manhunt continues for the killer of that popular conservative activist from our area, the shock and fear of how a life could be taken in broad daylight in front of thousands of people is still fresh. Aaron Delmar is the chairman of the Cook County Republican Party. I want to thank you so much for joining us, especially under these circumstances.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you had a closer view of Charlie's rise from Wheeling to the national stage than most people. So let's just start by you telling me when you first came in contact with him and what he was like.
You know, I met Charlie when he was still a junior in high school at Wheeling, right next to Arlington Heights. And I was just a new city councilman in the village of Palatine. He was a young, ambitious, confident young man. He came up to me and said, you know, Councilman Delmar, we'd like to start a Republican organization in our high school. We're going to do a golf outing. Would you be interested in attending and supporting our event? And I just thought, hey, you know, this is kind of a cool thing. This young man doing something in his community, something that hasn't been done before, participating in the event, and then kind of kept in touch. I saw him at the 2016 Republican National Convention in Cleveland. He had a speaking spot during that program, and I was so proud. And then you continue to see him, you know, elevate and expand his footprint in college, universities all over the United States, and to meteoric success with his conservative beliefs and his outreach to young people on their home turf.
Yeah, and to see someone from, 15, 16 years old all the way to this point in their life, how did you find out the news yesterday? And give me an idea of how that information unfolded for you.
Well, you know, I was just going about my regular day at the office, and I got a text message saying that Charlie had been shot. And at first, you know, it was incredibly shocking, and you didn't want to believe it. I jumped onto social media. I jumped onto Google to get more information, and then the reports had started coming in. After that, I actually got a video that somebody had put out from one of the attendees that was there that actually saw Charlie get shot in the neck and kind of fall back. And you know, that's a video that I'll never get out of my mind again. I mean, that's something that I don't think anybody should ever be able to see with someone that they know. It's incredibly upsetting for us, not only in the Republican ecosystem, but for all of us that live here out in the Northwest suburbs that remember Charlie starting out back in Wheeling and then making his way, you know, to a lot of success through his organization, Turning Point.
Yeah, that video was horrific. He was at a university in Utah, as I mentioned. It was Youth Voter Registration Day yesterday. He was doing what was really behind his popularity, engaging young people. So I want to ask you a couple of things regarding that. First, do you fear that people are seeing things like Charlie Kirk's death, the shooting of the Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota and their spouses just a few months ago, the attempts on President Trump's life, and even the attempt on Nancy Pelosi's husband, and just saying no to getting involved in politics?
Yeah, definitely. For those that are, you know, elected officials and candidates, it gives you a significant amount of pause. Is this something I really want to get into? Where we are is so polarized as a country. Before you could have a robust debate, you could be on opposite sides of any issue and not have to worry about your physical safety. But nowadays, you have to be more vigilant regarding campaigning, you know, how you're doing events. I can tell you that there's been discussions within our party saying, hey, you know what, we're going to kind of draw back on outdoor events. We're going to bring things more indoor. We're going to try to make sure that we have more security, do more screening, potentially start using wands and metal detectors at certain events. You know, there's a certain amount of threats that you get as an elected official. You get hate mail, you get all kinds of negativity, but now you take it a lot more seriously when you see things like this. I mean, Charlie wasn't even an elected official. He was just a, you know, a political influencer. And to see him shot in front of 3,000 people in the middle of the day, really changes the perspective you have.
Yeah, and there is widespread condemnation, but still a lot of introspection that needs to happen. Thank you so much again for joining us. I pray for your safety out there, and my condolences again.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Absolutely.